From every mountain and valley the world over are flowers and plants of simple beauty. Some hold a natural wonder, chemicals that soothe pain and inspire euphoria. At times they've been hailed as a gift of heaven, but in the last century they've been condemned as a scourge of man. Once, marijuana, cocaine, opium, ecstasy, LSD, even heroin were perfectly legal. Today, they compel a war on drugs. Did these plants and drugs change? Or did we?
Drugs are menacing our society.
It's like a 5-hour orgasm.
Used wisely, can produce the greatest ecstasy that man knows.
Every generation's youth have danced the night away, from the jitterbug to the twist. Part of the adventure of the youthful rite of passage often involves the use of illegal drugs, from spiked punch to marijuana and LSD. At the start of a new century, adolescents are flocking to a new illegal drug called ecstasy, sold and distributed at raves, dance parties that grew out of the culture of the drug and fostered its popularity.
But my favorite drug in the whole entire world is ecstasy.
Imagine if you just won $100 million in the lottery, and everyone around you has also won $100 million in the lottery. That's what it feels like to be on ecstasy, where you feel this great high, you feel everyone else is also high, everyone else is just great, you feel closer to other people.
Oh, it's like a 5-hour orgasm.
This is not about like opium where you want to go zone out and drop out. It's not that kind of escape. It's not let me drop out of the world and do nothing. It's let me have excitement. Let me do something wild and different. Let me enjoy this because I want to be awakened to it. I want to run around and get involved.
Right on, man.
Adolescents throughout history have used illegal drugs in rebelling against the prevailing social values of the day.
If you look at the late 60s, drugs like LSD and psychedelics were quite popular. And I think then people were responding to the oppressiveness of America in the 1950s and the early 60s and really seeking sources of expression, really seeking to create an alternative universe, if you will.
Just as LSD, marijuana, and Woodstock unite a generation, experts say ecstasy and the rave scene act as a glue for millions of savvy middle-class kids seeking an escape from the isolation, alienation, and loneliness of the modern day. For $25 to $40 a pill, ecstasy users can purchase an increased sense of intimacy.
They call it the love drug, and it's not really about that at these crowds. It's not about sex. It's about family and being close and being together.
That sense of emotional well-being is nothing more than a chemical reaction inside the brain. Ecstasy stimulates the discharge of serotonin, which affects mood, energy, and emotion.
Normally what happens, a little bit of serotonin gets released at a time. In fact, antidepressants such as Prozac and Zoloft and Paxil also act on serotonin. What ecstasy basically does is it takes serotonin and releases it all at once. And the next nerve gets all the serotonin and just goes berserk, basically.
Intimacy, empathy, openness. The chemical compound that inspires these feelings is methylene dioxymethamphetamine, or MDMA. Though not physically addictive, it could cause psychological dependence. An average 100 milligram dose lasts between 6 to 10 hours. The chemical precursor to the party drug of the 90s is patented by German pharmaceutical giant Merck.
When Merck patented it, it was just one of a number of drugs, just that they thought may have other drugs that could be developed from it at some point in the future that might have effects on the brain.
But this is World War I, and the Germans must focus on drugs for the war effort. With Germany's defeat, MDMA and every other patented drug is turned over to the Allies as a spoil of war. Its existence is lost from memory until the Cold War compels the Pentagon to re-examine its potential for national defense.
In 1953, the U.S. Army began to experiment with ecstasy in animals, dogs, guinea pigs, monkeys, to see whether it might have use in chemical warfare. Again, the drug was then dropped for a while.
The love drug does nothing of use for war, but the compound still exists.
Now, realize at that time the chemical had been synthesized, but it had not been produced into a pharmaceutical product. So it existed in the books. Someone could look it up and make it, synthesize it, but no company was producing it because it had no medicinal use.
No known use. But what if the drug's empathic qualities could transform the way people relate to each other? In 1977, Alexander Shulgin, a medicinal chemist in California, synthesizes the compound and introduces it to local psychotherapists.
Psychotherapists in the 70s and 80s really latched onto this. It was not illegal then. It was just a chemical substance that existed in society. And a lot of psychotherapists, particularly out in the West, used this in very valuable sessions to help their patients. And apparently, at least from the anecdotal information, it was very, very successful.
Often it was used in marriage counseling and marriage therapy, in which members of a couple would have trouble talking to each other, and ecstasy made them feel close to each other, made them trust each other more, and so therapists began to use it and advocate its use.
In the psychotherapeutic community, MDMA is called empathy. Its effect is likened to a year of therapy in 6 hours. Had MDMA not strayed from that community and that use, it might have remained legal. But beyond the therapist's office, it becomes wildly popular. And that is the beginning of the end for the legal use of ecstasy.